It's 8:30 on a fall morning on the Harlow farm in Putney, Vermont. 79-year-old Maynard Aiken is ready for another day of work. For almost 70 years, he's been working with and around horses.
It's a good feeling to know that you've got something that you can depend on. And it isn't like a tractor. You might run it today and tomorrow morning you go out and start it and wouldn't start. But you hitch up the horses and they're going, see? And you may not go so fast, but you'll get there. I plowed around 6 acres with them this spring, and I can't see but we come right out on top all right. We come right out with it.
Maynard Aiken has lived around Putney, Vermont his entire life. He's made a living primarily as a farmhand and road crew laborer. And to supplement his income, he has bought and sold draft horses. He's always led a simple, honest life, and in the Yankee tradition is somewhat distrustful of those who don't share those same values. Values that he says nearly everyone in this small town once had.
I think we enjoyed life more back when I was growing up, because everybody was neighbors. You didn't have anything, I didn't have anything, so we was happy. And money wasn't, that free, and you made use of what you did have, and everybody was helping one another. What used to be a farmland and everything, now it's all buildings, and they're all from out of state. There's no local people doing it, and you don't know who your next door neighbor is, because you couldn't pronounce the names. If you did know the first name, you couldn't pronounce the last name. So we don't bother with them. If somebody's stuck side the road, I will help them out, but that's about as far as they go. They're not neighborly. I don't know why. I don't know if they feel better than we do or what. Come on, boys. You can't get a load. Thanks. Come on. It's been a lot of changes. There's no getting around that, and I don't think they're for the best either. And I don't know what it's going to be like in the next 10 years, but if it keeps going the way it is, there won't be nothing left but houses. There won't be room for anything else. It's gone too fast. Life has gone too fast. You've missed the boat, near as I can figure it. That's the way I look at it. And you got now to the point you can't trust anybody, not even the politicians anymore. We're very headed right down into apple country.
Despite their differences, Maynard Aiken understands why people are drawn to Vermont, and for the most part, he enjoys their company.
Yeah, we got one over.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Gave it a horse one.
Yeah, down in back. This is about the only one that tourists get in big. I get more fun out of this than I would be to go to a circus. You going to college, Egypt? When you going, next week?
We already started school.
Oh, you already started school. Well, that's good. Yeah. I've been doing this here now for around 22 years and met a lot of nice people and had a lot of fun with them and tell stories and one thing and another.
Today he's giving apple pickers rides through the Harlow Farm orchard.
Yeah, and meet a lot of nice people and have a lot of fun, and they all seem to come back every year. Want to know why I am? Because I could always tell them a story or lie to them a little bit. we get along first rate. So you want to hold it just like that. Just like that. See? Now you will feed the other one at a time.
My nose got wet. My ears got...
After years of ferrying people around in wagons and sleighs, Maynard has his share of stories, including this one.
In the spring of the year, we were sugaring, and we had 2 busloads of these senior citizens come in, and then we give them a ride down to the sugar bush. And going down through the apple trees, I told watch out for the limbs. Pretty soon I heard one holler, and I thought she'd fell off. So I stopped the horses and had them look back, and she'd lost a wig that was in the apple tree hanging up. So I told her to leave it there, make good bird's nest. She said no, and she finally got an old gentleman on the back there to go get the wig. She said, now don't tell the rest of them on the bus, because she said, if you do, they'll make fun of me. And they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait for me to get back up to Sugar House so they could tell the rest of the busload what was going on. They had a lot of fun over that. I think probably the poor old girl got razzed all the way back home. I don't know. But they had a lot of fun anyways.
The Aiken name is one of the most recognized and respected in Vermont's rich political history. The late governor and U.S. Senator George Aiken was Maynard's cousin.
Yeah, he went one way and we went the other because he got a little more education than we did, I guess. But that was all right.
Though one cousin stayed on the farm and the other found fame as a politician, they both stayed in touch.
And I've been in parades with George, and he sat on the seat with me, and finally we got up there and stopped and got off, and the horse had made a mess in the road, and it was stuck on the wheel, and he got off. And I said, George, I said, you've got some of that manure on your pants. Because he said, I don't care, but he said, Lola don't like it. Yeah, I certainly am proud of him, yet, and anybody else should be, for the way that what he did for the people. And I think well, the majority of them that knew him would agree on that too.
Like any hill farmer, the warming sun of a spring day and the promise of an end to winter signal a special time of year, maple sugaring.
It's something that gets in your blood, and you can't. The only way you get it out is go sugaring. You got to get it back. You got to get it that way. And I've been at it since I can remember going in the woods with my grandfather when I was only 5, 6 years old, and he bought me a little pair of red rubber boots. Snow was about the same as it is now. And I pretty near froze my feet that day, but we got through the day all right, and I don't know, it's kind of stuck in my blood ever since. I can't seem to get it out. I like to go out there with the horses and they gather it in the buckets. And if you've got to like horses in order to be out there with them. Any good old Yankee will still sugar as long as he can, I think. I hope I can live to be 100 and still gather sap, but I don't know that I will. No.
He's a familiar sight, and his talent is a familiar sound. 76-year-old Harold Luce is a fiddler. Making music is more than a hobby to him. It's helped him support his family through tough times, given him hours of joy, and entertained thousands of people. Luce was born on a farm in Brookfield, and he still remembers the starlit night when, as a 3-year-old sitting on his porch, he first heard fiddle music from a dance at the neighbor's farm.
Across the road from across the lawn from my folks, and I heard that music come out of that. I guess that's the first time I really knew it was something different. It made me feel like I wanted to go to dance real bad, and they said maybe I'd go next year. Next year coming, I couldn't wait, but I couldn't go next year either, so I stayed home and cried for a long time. Never got over it.
The Luce family didn't have much money, but they did manage to buy Harold's older brother a fiddle, hoping he would learn to play.
They brought the violin for my brother. He's 6 years older than I was. And he was 11, and they sent him over 3-4 mile horseback. And he took just 3 lessons. He didn't want to do anything with it. And the violin sat on top of the piano. And every chance I'd get, I'm on the piano stool, and I'd try to open the case, and my sisters would tattle on me. So I couldn't get in it. And my father got a hired man, and he'd let him fool around with it. And between him and me together, he'd let me fool around with it. And we got so we could play a tune on a string, sliding a finger cut up and down and back and forth. I was smart as he was, I guess. I mean, he wasn't musically inclined either, but between the two of us, we tried to figure it out, and we got so we could play a little bit. But I couldn't touch it unless he had it. I mean, I'd drop it. I was not big enough.
Though his days were spent working as a farmhand, Harold's spare time centered on the fiddle and listening to a phonograph.
I'd do it after chores at night. I might set up till midnight, 1 o'clock. We had phonographs this lady gave me, and I'd follow along on those records of that. And somebody asked me who my favorite orchestra was, or Cowboys, or whatever it was. I didn't have any. I mean, until I got along, Gene Autry came along. I liked him. But it was all old records. They had matches on them, and before this other hired man come along, and I could slide my finger up and down and make it go. So I could get quite a lot of at it, but folks never hollered, made me go to bed. I mean, I guess they'd put up with it.
Into his teenage years, Harold played, listening and learning by ear. Then one day in school during the Great Depression, some music teachers arrived, courtesy the federal government's New Deal.
It was the same time the WPA was around. It's when Roosevelt went in and he got these jobs all started for people, and they give these music teachers a job to go around and doing that. They taught Chelsea and Tunbridge 2 days, and she taught in Barry, and I don't know where else she did go. I played fairly good by ear, and then I started taking lessons, and she said I shouldn't play by ear. I should just play strictly by note, because she said I was intelligent enough so I could be a violinist if I wanted to be. I didn't know that I wouldn't go that far. I couldn't read that good. When you get the notes way up above the lines, and that's beyond what I could comprehend.
Harold still continued to play by ear, and soon he was performing as a featured fiddler at dances and shows that were popular in rural Vermont before the age of television. By this time, he was married and starting a family and working on his own dairy farm. It was a hard life, complicated by the illness of a child who needed months of hospital care. Harold continued to play music to bring in a few extra dollars, his playing sometimes leaving little time for sleep, but his talent was keeping his family together.
We had the big farm over Brookfield at that time, but I'd played for dances a long time before that, and we had a lot of sickness. And we got head over heels in debt. Some nights I played 4 nights a week, and I had been in the band at 5 o'clock in the morning. And some nights you'd play until 1 o'clock, and then I'd have to come home and be so tired I couldn't hardly see. We'd gone through bankruptcy probably, and been my fiddle years and years ago. I mean, even before we bought the farm, we had a hard struggle to get along. You get $2, $1.50, or $3, and when I first started working on the farm over to Brookfield, I had to be in the barn 5 o'clock. I got done at 6 after home eat supper. I get $10 a week in my house rent in Milton Wood, and when it got payday, we'd put a cardboard box on the sled and go to the store and buy groceries, and still have $2 or $3 left. You can't get the bottom of a paper bag covered today for $6 or $7.
Harold, too, had some trying times physically. He lost 2 of his fingers in a farming accident while he worked on a tractor pulley that was stuck.
And I left the tractor idling. I got off on the other side of the cutter bar and come around and I leaned right against the tire. Thought I still think, I don't know why it happened. It's just one of those things that shouldn't. I took the stick and reached over in. I was 5 feet probably from a belt, reaching over in, and I pushed on the top of the belt on the far side and crawled just a little bit. It didn't go. I did it again.
The accident did not affect his playing, but it hastened a new career. Harold eventually worked 25 years for a Windsor machine tool company, but he was as popular as ever with his fiddle, and he continued to play, and by the 1960s, he was acknowledged as one of the best fiddlers in New England. One of Harold's best-known performances is also his longest-running as the fiddler for the Ed Larkin Contra Dancers.
This is my 60th year. I started down the fair 60 years ago this year.
The Larkin Group is a spectacle. Their old-time dress and traditional dance steps have entertained across the Northeast, from the 1964 New York World's Fair to their best-known venue, the Tunbridge World's Fair.
I like to make people happy, and I know they're happy when they come in there. I wouldn't miss it if I can help it. I mean, it's just a fascination with the costumes, I think.
Harold Luce is a modest and soft-spoken man whose talent for making music has enriched his life, as well as countless people who have enjoyed his skills over the past 6 decades. It's called the most photographed farm in the world. Nestled in a pastoral setting among rolling hills, this farm has been the subject of countless photographs and is one of Vermont's most recognized scenes. But for the farm's owner, it's simply home and a life of early morning chores.
That's my Jerry.
Meet 84-year-old Elmer Jenny, who has spent his entire life on the family homestead and is still working the farm.
On there.
He knows how to go. Always done it. Long as I'm able, probably always will. That's the best milking machine ever invented. You know about what you've got to do when you get up in the morning. Most any farmer does.
This magnificent 400-acre property was purchased for $1,600 in 1890 by Jenny's mother and father. They raised 11 children here. Elmer never left, nor has he ever wanted to.
All kinds of memories, yes. Always had cattle. I used to work 100 hours a week.
Life on the Jenny farm wasn't without some laughter. Elmer's sister fondly remembers some of her brother's activities.
One time he brought a steer right into the kitchen. Just to bother my mother. She probably said, Elmer, just take it out, please. Well, Elmer was always a man of few words. The night he shot the bear, it was just dusk, and he came into the kitchen. The family was eating supper. He never said a word. He put his gun upon the rack, and my brothers started looking, and they didn't say anything. Elmer took his time, washed up, sat down to the table, just shot a bear, he says.
Used to work for the town on the roads, you know, $2 a day. Yeah. But I can remember when, seemed like it was the headlines in the newspaper. Henry Ford started paying his help $5 a day. Helped that to make them Ford cars. Everybody thought that was quite a salary.
Like many early 20th century farms, the Jennys, by and large, grew their own food and sold milk to purchase the things they couldn't produce on their own.
Didn't have to buy as much stuff as you do today. You know, folks always would buy a barrel of flour and 100 pounds of sugar at a time. Yeah. Of course, they went with a horse and a buggy and someone. Horse and a sleigh in the winter. Yeah.
Earning enough money to support a modest lifestyle was all the Jennies ever strived for. And like others of his generation, Elmer feels that kind of philosophy made the Vermont of a half-century ago a better place to live.
Nobody ever used to lock the doors, you know, and around the neighborhood, but now you have to knew everybody that lived down the road here, down in the village. You don't know. 1 out of 10 now. Folks seem to like complaining a lot more now than they used to about high taxes and all this crime and that stuff. Yeah.
A lifelong bachelor, Elmer says he has never regretted not getting married.
God, I tell him I'm too busy. I didn't have time.
Decades of hard work on the farm haven't made Elmer wealthy, but 50 years ago he did achieve some measure of fame when it was discovered his 2 oxen were the largest in the world. His skill in working the massive team was honed over years of using them on the farm. Now, Elmer tends to his small herd of dairy cows, and every morning he gets a pint of fresh milk the old-fashioned way. As Elmer Jenny performs this simple, timeless task in the quiet of his barn, outside the sun is rising on a beautiful fall morning, and the road overlooking the farm is lined with cars and photographers seeking the perfect picture.
There's a woman here from she lived in Chicago, yes. She said she won first prize in a photography contest out there with this picture of this place. I think I asked her what made it so attractive, these old buildings here, 100 years old. She says it's the old style. Yeah. God, I like to visit with them. They're all nice people. Yeah.
Every year, hundreds of photographs of the farm wind up as calendars, postcards, and as stock photos used in every imaginable way. Elmer has never been paid for any of it.
All right to me. Yeah. Good for them. They can make money.
Though he'll never make a lot of money from his photogenic home, Elmer realizes he has an opportunity, and he has installed a donation box that makes a subtle point.
God, I hope so. Get a few dollars.
Elmer's low-key approach to earning money has been with him for some time, at least according to his brother-in-law, who recounts the story of bringing Elmer's sister home from the Woodstock movie theater in the early 1930s, when the car became stuck in a snowbank near the farm.
Anyway, I was stuck all over. Couldn't get back into the road, of course. So I walked her the rest of the way home, and she went upstairs and woke up her brother Elmer. He got up, got dressed, went down to the barn and hitched up his yoke of oxen, got a chain, and we went back out on the Red Hill, and he pulled me back into the road. Well, I said, how much do I owe you, Elmer? Elmer said, oh, about $1. I gave him $1, and I went home, and he went home. And Doris says the next morning, Elmer was bragging in the kitchen how, by gosh, he got $1 out of old Taylor last night anyway. And I bet you $1 that he still got that dollar bill.
I don't know. I doubt it.
Elmer Jenny is a quiet, honest man who has devoted his life to working the family farm, a farm that, not surprisingly, signifies for many the quiet, simple beauty of rural America and of better times.
If I had my life to live over again, I'd work less and worry less and hunt woodchucks more.